You're talking about haircuts.
I first want to thank Seattle for providing ourselves with this beautiful, beautiful, sweet museum. And it would not be that way if it weren't for Patty Jo. Where's Patty Jo?
I'm Patty, would you leave me alone?
She's the one that puts it all together, keeps it all clean, and makes me money. And you know what a job that is. I'm told I was supposed to speak because my father was a barber. My dad would listen to all of it. He would hear all the gossip of Marseilles because, unbeknownst to you, women, men gossip more than yes.
Oh.
It was a gathering.
And they don't get it right.
Of gossip.
And they don't get it right.
You heard the local news. You heard the gossip of everything that was going on in town and exaggerated. Oh, they exaggerated. But all that time, my dad would just cut hair. Never did he bring any of it home. Sometimes I would say, Dad, do you know what I heard uptown? He'd go, yeah, I know. How come you didn't tell me? If I told you everything I heard in the barber shop, I would not have a job. So he was not one to gossip or carry on stories. We had Snuffy Bailey. What a character he was. He lived between the two bridges. And he would come into Marseilles, and behind my dad's cigar counter was a flask of whiskey. And Snuffy would come in every day, go behind the flask of whiskey, or counter and get the whiskey, take a swig, turn around and say to my dad one time, Speed, can I borrow $1? My dad said, well, yeah, you could borrow $1, Snuffy. Pretty soon, Snuffy came back. Dad said, Snuffy, what did you do with my $1? I went up to resell them and got a haircut. Those are the kind of characters that hung out with my dad. Barber shop. Now, the plus to that is my brother, my sister, and I learned that there are different looks of people, and we're not to judge by their looks, but listen to their story, because everybody has a story. And if you listen to their story, you see a different picture of that person. And that's what my dad did. How many barber shops did we have back then?
7.
How many?
7.
7? I think we had a lot more than that even. Bobby Simpson was one.
Me,
Stand up.
Speed, Reese, Allen,
Yeah.
Lake Fouts, Bobby Thomas, me, oh, Mike and Rustin.
Yeah. Now, one of you mentioned I was going to talk about, reselling. My dad would go to him for a haircut. Now, my dad was named Speed. I never knew he had a name other than Speed until, how old were we, Tony? Pretty old. Somebody called him Jimmy once, and I said, who's that calling you Jimmy? Anyway, he got his name, I think, because he cut hair fast. He'd go to resell them and he'd get a haircut, and he'd say, Reese, remember now, don't count them, cut them. Reese was very, very slow, and that made my dad very nervous. So, I don't think he came. Jack Sweet didn't come. I want any barbers that are here to get up and talk. Well, what was it like when you were a barber?
Well, I started cutting hair.
Stand up.
I started cutting hair in Decatur for 2 months after I went to barber school and then the army, and then I cut hair for 2 months in Decatur and went to work for Ed Cotto from Marseilles. He had a 4-chair shop in Joliet. I was up there for 4 years, and all this time I'm laid off at Lyons. So I knew I was getting ready to be called back to Lyons. I figured it'd be a good time to get back to this area. So They started building a house out south, and when that was finished, I got called back to Libby's. So I came back to Libby's, and I was working midnights, and Speed and I went to the same church, and he was getting ready to have a gallbladder out.
Get ready to have a what?
Gallbladder out,
Oh,
and he asked if I'd be interested in cutting hair half a day every day. So I started working midnights at Libby's for Speeds at 6 weeks. So I was on midnight 6 weeks at Libby's in the tank department. Come home and I cut hair at noon to closing time. At that time, all shops in Marseilles were union. All of them in Ottawa were union. We all belonged to the same union. So I cut hair from noon till 5:30. You had to be in the shop by 5:30. So there might be 2 or 3 at 5:30 sitting around. You had to finish them up. Go home, go to bed, go back to work, maybe on. But 6 weeks turned into 8 weeks, if you remember. 8 weeks turned into 10 weeks. Speed finally came back. One of the characters, Ricky Smith.
oh, Ricky, Davy Quattrogrossa, Davy Q.
Yeah.
I was gonna bring a picture of the 3 of them. Oh, they got in a lot of trouble.
Okay. Rosemary, would you introduce?
Bob Simpson.
Well,
Yeah.
not everyone knows your
Introduce
first.
yourself.
Would you tell us your name?
Bob Simpson.
Okay,
I'm
nice
from
to meet
Marseilles.
you. So Mike, but I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Yeah, and there was Manuel was from Marseilles. Don
Yeah.
Miller had barber glasses from Marseilles. Marseilles Barbers in Marseilles. But anyway, after Speed came back, Bobby Thomas asked me if I wanted to work for him full time. So I went, quit the deal and went to work for Bobby Thomas for a year. Just had a year, and he was getting ready to buy a lot of those taverns, getting out of the barber business. So I bought a lot down in the west end of Marseilles by buying the grocery store. They built the barber shop. I think I opened it in '67. That's when.
It's in here. If you need to look it up.
67 was, like I say, me and Steve, Reese, Bobby Thomas, Mike Phelps, Mikey Russell, we all made it. And then, probably.
What was the haircut? What was the cost?
It was $1.50, $1.75 on Friday and Saturday.
What is it now?
$100. But anyway, I took the shop in '67 and I cut my hair there until roughly 6, 7 years.
Your story. I was little.
And the long hair started coming
Oh.
in. And at that time, there was a law, state law. A woman could cut a man's hair in a beauty shop, but a man couldn't cut a woman's hair. I don't know how they got started, but that was the law. We wouldn't know how to cut women's hair anyway.
Yeah, cut woman's hair, but he cut it just like he cut the men's hair.
The long hair started coming in, and the barber business started. So I went and took the carpenter test, which I didn't deal with quite a bit in. I passed the test, went to work, took a Saturday, went to work on carpenter. And Jack Sweden was in the shop for a year, and he quit and went to Baylor. And after that, turned the chicken shop. Turned it into a chicken area, if you remember that. Like that, we built it to sell the building. It took us 10 months. She was working DuPont. I was working at carpenter. Get home, shower, go down there, clean, sell fish and chicken. Get home at 9, 10 o'clock at night and shower again. Go back and start the next day. And we finally sold the shop. Shop around in the fish and chicken for 20-some years. And that's about all I got to say.
put up with all of that.
I was just gonna say, Rosemary, when I would want to buy something with this barber, he'd say, you know how many times I did a dance around that chair?
One time, my dad answered the phone and I heard him say, well, you can come in, but there's 3 ahead of you, so it'll be a half hour. And I don't remember when he started, way back in year. What year was it? My dad started. You.
Me? I don't know.
My resource person.
1970s.
No, that's when I quit. 72 is
Close.
But anyway, I think haircuts were like 50 cents.
Why are you asking?
I think they were only 50 cents. Do you have anything to add?
No, I don't need a barber anymore either, so.
When did you barber?
I never did.
Oh, you never
No.
No, he doesn't need one.
So I don't need one anymore.
did? Oh, I'm sorry.
My name's Peter Hall. I'm the son of Ivan Hall, former principal. But I remember, it was 1964. I had Leck Fouch as a barber. And my parents said, well, you gotta go down to Leck's, get a haircut. Well, Leck was closed, or Leck was, so I went over to Speed's. And, in this conversation with a bunch of guys, they were all talking about the Indianapolis 500.
Oh, Dad remember every time.
Right? That's my impression of Speed. Okay? So I come home and I tell my dad, I says, you know, some of these guys are sitting there talking about the Indy 500. You know, I'm kind of young, interested in cars and the racing and everything, you know. And my brother Don just got out of the service, and my dad got tickets for the Indy 500 in 1964. And it was my dad, myself, my brother, and Gary Bowes. We all went to the Indianapolis 500, and we sit on the number 4 curve. And then Indianapolis, and everybody, what happened, it was, I remember saying to my brother, I think my brother and Gary were there before. And I mentioned to them, I says, boy, they're going real fast in the pace lap. You know, they paced them at like 100 miles an hour. And I said, yeah, they're going real fast. They said, I never forget this. He says, well, wait till the next lap. The next lap happened on the number 4 curve. It was nothing but a ball of flame.
Yeah.
It was when Eddie Sachs and them got killed and everything on the first lap. And also, we were on the infield, and we were looking at people that had these scaffolds, so we're way up high, looking for them, and they collapsed. A bunch of them got killed. And
You're bad luck, don't it?
yeah,
If you're gonna be there.
but it was like, but I remember, and I went back several times after that. But I'll never forget, it was like Speed, saying, oh, there was guys talking about the Indy 500, and that's what I remember.
Yeah, he went to every year. And what he would do is he'd drive up and he'd get talking to the ticket guy so fast and so much, he'd get so involved that he'd drive right through and never pay. One of them came in, hey buddy.
But that's my inspiration, that's Speed for me, you know what I mean?
So if you know my sister, my brother, and we're talkers, we came by it very natural.
You wanted to know, 1935 was when your father started.
35.
That's the earliest I can find, and Bob Thomas was 1923.
Oh, wow.
And you actually bought,
That's not right.
That was his dad.
That is bad.
yeah,
That was his dad.
there's more than one Bob Thomas.
That was Bob.
And also, your father must have started his barber shop on the corner there, the Boedo building, that is no longer there in 1948.
No, he didn't start there.
No, he didn't start there.
In
He had a shop there in 1948. That was the first time he was in that building in 1948.
Yeah, he started it.
You evidently didn't read all the material I did.
I tried.
I did all that research and you didn't even.
Yes, I did read it, but I've had COVID twice and my
Yeah, I know.
mind is gone. You're lucky I got this much.
I remember hearing about a barber. I think that we had some quite influential barbers in this town because I came to town in 1957. I did not meet Rosemary until 1985. And so I had heard about speed because my dad from North Dakota would come and visit me. And he'd say, the first thing he'd say, well, I gotta go downtown and I gotta see Speed for a shave and a haircut. And so I heard of Speed before I even met Rosemary. And my dad just had to go see him, he just thought he was just the greatest guy. So our dads were good friends before we became friends and good friends.
Like sisters. I had that on my notes, but I didn't get to it. Yeah. Are there any other memories?
Rosemary, I want David Riggs to talk about Alley Q, please.
Oh, Ellie, yes, you're going to talk about Ellie. Did you know Oh, Ellie, by the way, when Ellie went on vacation, when Dad went on vacation, Ellie was just starting up, I think, at the time. And he would have Ellie Q keep our barber shop open.
Oh.
So,
Yeah.
Sure. Thank you for that. I wrote down a bunch of information that Alec was a personal friend of mine, I gotta tell you. He was a gentleman that I looked up to my whole life since I was a little boy. He cut my hair for over 50 years, and we developed a fond relationship. And I always looked up to him, and I admired going down to the shop and listening to the stories, just like sitting here. I was never said a word, I just listened to the guys that would come in and talk about anything, you know, and it was always an education. But Alec Quattrogrossa, known to everybody as Allie the Barber. Anywhere you ever went, I've met people in Ottawa, in LaSalle County, and you know, that's what they knew me by. He was a great friend and mentor of mine. Allie to me was a true gentleman, a quiet, well-spoken, intelligent, wise man. He was a great husband, father, and a true American patriot to his country, community, and family. Allie was born on April 27, 1926. He passed on October 5th, 2019, is 93 years old. Allie's father and mother was Patsy and Mary Quattrogrossa from here in Marseilles. He had a sister Pearl and a brother David and an Anna. He married Rosie Imogene in August of 1947, and they were married very happily, married for 50 years, with Rosie passing in 1997. They were proud parents of their 4 beautiful daughters, Pat, Sandra, who is living in Florida right now, Tina, and Annie. Allie was very proud that he was a lifelong resident of Marseilles. He attended schools here in Marseilles and quit high school at the age of 17 and joined the U.S. Army and served 2 years in World War II. He was a life member of the American Legion post here in Marseilles 235 and a life member also of the VFW post 5506 here in Marseilles. He was one of our founding members of the Lions Club here in Marseilles. He was a very active and proud member. He served on a committee to build the new swimming pool here in Marseilles around 1960. And he was presented with Distinguished Dedicated Humanitarian Service Awards by the Lions Club International Foundation for service to our country and his United States military service to our community, the state, and the world through Lionism. Ali was very proud that he received his diploma from Marseilles High School many years after leaving the service. One of the proudest moments of his life was, I believe, in 2016, going to the honor flight to Washington, D.C., to the World War II Memorial. He was so proud of that event, and he got to spend a couple of days up there, and I gotta tell you, that was, he talked about that until his last days. It was just a very emotional for him, and, you know, he really enjoyed that. Ali worked for DuPont and Seneca until his retirement. He was one of our local barbers who cut hair up until he was 91 years old, roughly 65 years here in Marseilles. He told me some of the years while working at DuPont, he cut hair at Dean Raber's barbershop in Ottawa on the south side, part-time. Then he had a chair with cutting hair with Speed Boetto on the corner of Main Street and Commercial, and also with Leck Fouch on Main Street. Then Ali opened up his own shop, one at the Ramondo building there on Main Street, just down the street from Speed's. And then next, he, for several years, he was next to Gleason's Hardware and Furniture Company on Main Street. That's probably where most of us remember his shop all those years. Some of the stories I enjoyed from Ali were the years when he was a kid planting and working with his mother and the family in the big garden each year. It was such an important part of their life that he just explained to me that for them to make it through the year, they had a huge garden down there by the high school, right across the street from the high school. And that was a major part of his life, that he had to help his mother, and it was one of the proudest things that he did, spending time with his mother. And something else that was very fond to him was his father, Patsy, making homemade wine with his friends every year. And I can still hear him talking about that his father and their friends would buy a whole train car load, one boxcar load of grapes, Concord grapes and they came from California, and then they all met down in his basement and made homemade wine. They truly loved his Italian heritage, you know. Anybody that knew him or talked to him, you know, he could tell you stories about everything, you know, when he was growing up and the history of his family and so forth. But he was a historian from Marseilles. People, when they wanted to know anything about old buildings, who, you know, had businesses in them in Marseilles going back, you know, to the Depression and so forth. And people brought in old pictures of Nabisco and things that went on in the community, which nobody else had seen, you know, and luckily he kept those. And some of those pictures I know he donated here to the museum, you know, before his passing. So, and that was he was very, you know, proud of that, you know, that people came to him regarding those things. But in closing, Ali was a very unique and kind and generous man. He was such a great example for a young man like me to follow his beliefs and values. I am honored to be one of his friends. And I gotta tell you, I just wanna leave on a note that he loved his family so much. He dearly, every day when you went in there and talked to him, or he was shooting the bull or whatever, he would always bring up his wife, Rosie, how much he loved her and cared about her and his daughters and so forth. I mean, they were the love of his life, of course, but he made you aware of that, you know, and it came from his heart, you know, and some of the other things, when I was a young man, I'd go in there, I'd always sit and quiz him about, because I was always interested in the history of Marseilles and so forth, and he could tell you anything that used to go on with Toots Morel out to the ball diamonds out at the park, because that's what I was interested in when I was a kid, you know, and so those stories always meant so much to me, and of course, he cut my hair, my father's, my brother's, my son's, my grandson was one of his last, you know, recipients there getting a haircut, so And not only that, his whole family. My wife Janet and I were close friends with his wife Rosie and his sister Tina. We were in their wedding with her and her husband at the time, so we were close, and we appreciated their friendship very much. I really looked up to him. Anybody got any questions?
I think it was his mother that was known for her odd hats. She
Oh, is
wore
that right? Mary?
different hats all the time.
I just met her a couple times, but I was very young at that time. I was a teenager, going over to this bar. Allie worked in a short time when he got out of the service. He worked for the labor, so I had a connection with him there. But his dad was very well known in Marseilles as being a great concrete finisher and labor. And when they built in 1936, I do remember him telling me.
I remember that year I was born. That was the year I was born.
But they built the Marseilles High School, and he was one of the main cement finishers there. Then the old show building in the early 30s on Main Street, and of course, I think it was around 34 or 35, the post office in Marseilles. So those were three big projects just in a short time. And Patsy Q, him and Steve Folletto ran those jobs on construction, so just some of the stories that we've often talked about.
I have just a little personal story. My husband was so busy delivering 2,000 people, probably some of you here, but he was so busy that sometimes he'd say, Seattle, you're gonna have to trim my hair, or it got pretty bad, so I would trim it. And then every once in a while he'd say, well, I gotta go down and see LAQ and get a real haircut. And I know that the parents were also patients, and he would tell some really funny stories about them. They were just a lot of fun. Yeah.
You made your time there fun, because he took an interest in you, and there wasn't much he didn't know about. He was a very intelligent man. He didn't graduate from high school, but for common sense and being calm and collective all the time, I never seen him get upset over anything, and he could explain things to you that some of your teachers couldn't even get you to understand. So I always enjoyed my time with there.
Well, Dad only went to 8th grade, but I'll tell you, these barbers could have been psychologists from what they learned just by observing what they heard and saw in the shop.
They gave a lot of advice. And I gotta tell you, one other thing that brings up, he cut hair for lawyers, doctors, very professional people. So he absorbed a lot of that. I gotta tell you, and they came to him for advice on a lot of different issues. It was amazing, some of the things. It was all, true. You can imagine that coming from him because, he spoke the truth, he was proud of my friends. I gotta tell you, he was a sharp man. And one story that many of his friends, he had a great amount of friends here, but he was involved with the Lions Club. Those guys like to play poker down there. And I gotta tell you, through some of them older gentlemen, being around them through the years, said that, and he was very proud of this, that he was one of the most shrewdest poker players there was around. And this is the guy's honest truth to it. It just came to my mind. He told me that the 2 years that he served overseas in World War II, he sent every government check that he got home to his mother. He made his money on the ship and on land playing poker. He made enough just to make a living on it, but he saved every check that he got and sent it home to his mother. That's awesome. That's dedication. I mean, I gotta tell you, that's something that somebody does that for the family.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. And all your helpers.
Yeah. That's right. Let's see.
I just want to make note, during my research, I found that since the early 1800s to today, we've had over 34 barbers that practice their craft here in Marseilles. So I have it all outlined up there if you'd like to take a look at it, where their barber shops were and the years that they were at that location, because they moved all the time. I'm sure I'm sure Bob knows that because I have him down on Clark Street in the 70s, I think it was, wasn't it?
Yep.
800 Clark Street.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So, and if you wanna take a look at that, I have all the names listed. We also have the youngest licensed barber in the state of Illinois. We have that distinction. That was Trudy.
Yeah, not a true
Bob Trudy. And we also had the first female barber in Marseilles. Well, she was our first female barber. And I believe that was Dixie Perona in 1982, I believe.
Yeah.
So we have a lot of things that we can be proud of.
We're proud of you. Let's give a hand to Pat. Miss Seattle.
Yeah.
She's 90 years old, we won't make her stand up.
One thing, I just wondered how many people here remember to do this? And get your bottle of pop. I still remember that. Yeah, you had to go down the slot over and up in the thing and come out. Yeah.
Yeah, along with the whiskey and the.
Well, I didn't, that wasn't old.
Your number to think of that.
No. Wasn't old enough for
Well,
that.
one thing that, I remember about my dad, he was always happy.
Yeah.
Don't you remember that? Always happy, he loved life. Yeah, he just died too young.
Yeah.
All right, anybody else have anything to add or subtract or? Well, thank you for coming, it's a blessing to see you all.
Thank you.
Thank you both.
Yeah.